हेलो वेलकम बैक टू ऑलमाइटी स्पोर्ट्स प्लस। 2 महीने हो गए हम लोग देख रहे, इतने सारे मैचेस देख रहे। ऑल दैट ड्रामा, डेली न्यूज बाय ड्रामा, ऑल द कॉन्वर्सेशंस फॉर व्हाट। पहला मैच जो हुआ है डिट्टो सेम मैच होने वाला फाइनल में, एंड दैट इज व्हाट क्रिकेट इज। इट इज अ ग्रेट लेवलर, इट्स वेरी फनी एट टाइम्स, बट यू ऑल नो जो हो रहा है प्लेऑफ्स में, अ सर्टेन गिल इज डूइंग, भाई एकदम बवाल मचा रहा है। So we had to get the Gill of the cricket analyst zone, and that is of course Gurkirat in the house. Bhai Gurkirat, long time I've been trying to get you on the channel. Great to be here. Love your analysis always. Best IPL ever. People are saying. How are you, by the way?
Best IPL ever might be a bit of a stretch for me, because there was this IPL in 2019 where Bangalore, who finished last, had 11 points,
Yeah.
and the IPL in 2020 had Rajasthan finishing last with 12 points on net run rate, and they were in contention going into the final day. So I think, in terms of games being close, like 2020 IPL, you knew Mumbai Indians were a shoulder above, head and shoulders above every other team, but every other team was, apart from Mumbai Indians, in contention to be in the playoffs. This wasn't the case this IPL or the last IPL, so I'm not sure if it's the best IPL. Also, what has happened in the last two IPLs is that I think the draws that you've been put in the groups, that also plays a part, because last
Right.
time you were playing uh, twice each team in your group, and once all other teams except for one who was seeded as had the same seed as you in the other group, and this time you were playing all the other teams from the other group twice, and once your once it was uh, playing against the same team in your group. So I think not being able to play two matches against each and every team also has a bearing on the point system, because
Definitely.
some teams are just suited better to take on other team, right? Now
Absolutely.
this
और
season,
मैचअप्स की बात हो जाती है ना कहीं दैट काइंड ऑफ एडवांटेज डिसएडवांटेज होता है, और कहीं ना कहीं द
exactly.
क्लोजनेस ऑफ द टाई आल्सो मैटर्स विद दैट.
So Delhi, this season, after they had beaten Kolkata, right at Delhi, they would have loved to play Kolkata in Eden Gardens. They would have loved to play Mumbai Indians in Wankhede. Now that did not happen for them. So yeah, they did. So these kind of things are there. RCB would have not liked to play Kolkata Knight Riders twice in this season because they
Yeah.
lost to them, and it was always going to be a sort of a tricky matchup for them. So that plays a part. But yeah, I won't say it's the best IPL. There have been better
Yeah.
IPLs. This IPL, if
मतलब
anything,
maybe the final makes it, सुपर ओवर एक पेंडिंग है इस आईपीएल में, so that you never know. Just saying, I know a lot of conversation, or let's see how it goes, but uh, कहीं ना कहीं मतलब obviously we'll be talking about CSK and GT. Of course CSK making the 10th final, Dhoni making his 11th final as well, और GT of course by back to back finals. All of a sudden यार कल हम stream कर रहे थे, people are like, in terms of relevance, has GT overtaken RCB? I'm like, please, bro. I know that I'm an RCB fan. You don't need to troll me, but let's be real. You have to do it for a few seasons, but they've looked really good. Well, what has gone well for GT as a franchise? You think? मतलब इतना balanced लगा है, but at the same time, they weren't sure about, say, for example, even कल के match में Sai Sudarshan coming, into the lineup, or Abhinav Manohar not being there. So अभी भी यार, it seems like they're not 100% sure of the lineup, but you think that it's a plan and it's properly implemented.
okay. So for me, what has happened this season for Gujarat is that their bowling has really stood out. Mohammad Shami in the power play has been phenomenal. Last season they had Noor Ahmed, but they did not play him. They were playing Sai Kishore, who was also a very good spinner, and he would probably get into 7-8 teams first 11 in this IPL. But
Exactly.
that is the depth that they have in the bowling department. So I think the real differentiator for them has been their bowling, because teams otherwise have struggled for good bowling attacks. You look at Kolkata Knight Riders, they've had a non-existent pace attack. You look at Mumbai Indians, they've had only one spinner in terms of Piyush Chawla, who no one expected to do well. Similarly, you look at MI's, even CSK's bowling attack. Tushar Deshpande has got wickets, but what is that economy? That economy is on the
Exactly.
higher side.
Almost 10.
19.61.
Yeah.
Rajasthan Royals have struggled with their bowling because Prasidh Krishna got injured. They did not know who will bowl at the death. So because they've had such players who've given them wickets consistently, they've not even had to worry about death bowling, so as to say. And they had options for that. They had Alzai Joseph, who I felt that they have not utilized properly, because the role that they are using Josh Little for, I think Alzai Joseph is more suited to do that role. And yeah, so they've had options, they've not used them. I felt, someone like a Sai Sudarshan should have been there playing the first qualifier itself, because of his game against spin bowling, and to break that one, the sameness of the batting lineup, because they have five or six right-handers back to back. And then, of course, Shubman Gill doing what he was always capable of, has papered over a few things.
Sensational stuff, right? मतलब three T20 centuries is what you're talking in a single tournament. And remember, he scored what 94 in the match, and he's like, "नहीं नहीं अभी भी है time, and I'll score a century, and here comes three."
Yeah.
मतलब again, maybe it's early days still, but Shubman Gill for me like absolute elite. He's looking like that absolute elite. We are talking about the greats of the greats at that level. But what are your expectations from Shubman Gill as a cricketer? In all formats actually, right?
So one criticism of his in the last IPL was that his strike rate was on the slower side, especially in the power play. He's worked on it, and now he has a season strike rate of 156. So you can't complain anything in terms of his intent or anything. And one thing that he's doing well is that once he's settled in, he's really going for it. He's not looking to then anchor once again. He's picking up his matchups, and then he's absolutely uh, hitting them out of the attack. I mean, just the way he picked the bones out of the shots that he hit for six. I mean,
Oh,
it was slightly reminiscent of Virender Sehwag coming down to the track, to spinners, and hitting them over their heads. Because Piyush
literally.
Chawla has really bowled well, but he was not allowing Piyush Chawla to bowl. And then he also played that paddle behind the wicket, which is something not he's not done before. Just just it's and I was there watching that game versus like the Gujarat RCB game at Chinnaswamy. Chinnaswamy is loud. Chinnaswamy is really loud.
Ask me
and
about it for sure.
and after the first innings, the crowd did think that there was more than a decent chance. But despite all the noise that crowd was making, whenever Shubman Gill was hitting a boundary, you could hear the ball hitting the bat hitting the ball. That sound,
Wow.
tuck tuck. And uh, when David Miller had gotten out, the crowd had found some of its energy, because it wasn't. There was still a chance for RCB to come back into that game, with Mohammad Siraj having
Right.
to bowl his last three balls in that over. And yeah, he was. Siraj came in to bowl him slightly short, and he was ready. Tuck. And
Unstoppable.
there was absolutely stunned silence whenever Shubman Gill was hitting those sixes and finding. And here's what. He's now only three short of maximum sixes in this IPL. He has 33 sixes. We
Wow.
associate him to be a player who can time the ball, and hence find the boundary a lot more. But he's gone over the fence so many times. 33
Yeah.
sixes in 16 games. So that's on an average two sixes a game. It's not
Yeah.
bad by any
He
stretch
he
of the.
actually reminds me of a young Rohit Sharma at Deccan Chargers when he won that CB series for us. That is the kind because but again in terms of consistency he's gone to the next level. I agree. But I know बहुत लोग बोल रहे हैं भाई Tim David ने catch miss किया था कल. Yes, but again that is part and parcel of the game. To be honest about it, I think he was anyway unstoppable generally in the tournament, and I think he's been the best batsman by far. But थोड़ा बहुत मुंबई के बारे में, I know we'll come to CSK, but what went wrong with Mumbai? By the way, सब लोग यहाँ पर सबसे पहले शाउट आउट दे रहा हूँ वापस से भाई, अपने गुरकीरत भाई को फॉलो करिए. उनका Twitter as well as Instagram links are below in the description पहले line में, as well as basically I've tagged his channel where basically he's done some brilliant content. Not only that, by Twitter में he has 38K followers for a reason almost, and that is awesome content. I love his analysis, so people do check it out as well as hit that like button. लेकिन हाँ, मुंबई के बारे में बात करें तो the fact that of course Ishan Kishan getting the concussion injury did not help yesterday, but generally in the tournament also if you see Karthikeya को they've not used as much. I would say that kind of underused किए हैं. Even the batting order, so as to speak, yes, Sky was in brilliant form midway through the tournament. He came at number 3, but again was there an option of getting Cameron Green to open yesterday instead of Nehal Vadera? Now, those are things that we can speak about or speculate about. But what do you think went wrong generally?
Yeah, I mean, they could have. In fact, if they wanted to get in a concussion sub, they could have even opened with Vishnu Vinod because he's good against pace. So they could have tried those options. Uh, yeah, I mean, Nehal Vadera has been good versus spin. Would have ideally suited them to keep him in the middle order and open with Cameron Green or someone like a Vishnu Vinod. I don't know why they did that. But Mumbai this season haven't anyway been tactically great because in the first half of the season, for the first 7 8 games, they just wanted to force fit Cameron Green into the game. They wanted to bowl him 2 overs in the power play, even when there was help available, and they had Jofra available, they had Berendorf available, there were other bowlers. Uh, then they wanted, Cameron Green to bat at number 3. The game against Punjab that they lost in Wankhede, it would have
Hmm.
easily been won if Tilak Verma or Suryakumar Yadav had batted at 3 and then the other batsman batted at 5. They were quite close to losing the game versus Rajasthan Royals at Wankhede due to a similar tactical error. So earlier they were just trying to going with the mindset that we have paid 16 crores for this guy, so we want to use him, and that was resulting in not the great usage for their other two batters. So credit to them for correcting that in the last few games. But again, yesterday, Cameron Green bowling 1 over in the power play. The second over did not make sense to me. I would have gone with Akash Madwal and asked him to bowl along with Berendorf from the other end.
Exactly. Exactly. And just like I said, giving Kumar Kartika just 2 overs to bowl in that particular match doesn't make any sense at all.
So I think
But
I think
again, mhm,
I think the move to not bowl him more was with the fact that Gill was hitting spin well, and there was Sai Sudarshan on on the
yeah,
other end. So
left hand,
that
right
that also
hand
played a
thing.
part.
Yeah.
So maybe if there was Hardik, they could have given him the ball, but with Sai Sudarshan being there, I don't think there was a chance.
नो आई अग्री दैट बट एक पॉइंट जो आपने ट्वीट भी किया है काफी मतलब चर्चा भी चल रही है कल से ही नहीं मतलब कुछ दिनों से अबाउट रोहित शर्मा ऑब्वियसली अगेन मतलब ब्रिलियंट कैप्टन द फैक्ट दैट मुंबई ऑलमोस्ट गॉट टू द फाइनल चेन्नई आर इन द फाइनल दीज आर टू साइड जहां पर बॉलिंग इज नॉट देयर स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉइंट सो टू स्पीक व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड द टूर्नामेंट फिर भी दे हैव गॉटन दोज साइड्स टू ऑलमोस्ट दैट लेवल बट Rohit Sharma has not been consistent enough, and he's like almost throwing away his wickets a lot of times. With the impact player rule, you think it is a concern? And जो फाफ ने किया था 2 मैच के लिए शुरुआत में, do you see him doing that kind of a role maybe next season? And then is it time to basically blood in someone else as a new captain, or is it too early? Am I overreacting?
See, Faf was playing as an impact player because he was injured and he was still
Correct.
contributing with the bat. Also, what people need to understand is that impact player more or less is going to be that player who you think otherwise will not fit into your 11, right?
Hmm.
So that there are those things as well. Uh, with regards to Rohit, see, it's been now 7 years of non-performance as a batter. It's
Actually,
it's a huge long rope. I mean, it's not a one season kind of an issue. It is now bothering. They have reached the qualifier, so that that question of not having Rohit or releasing Rohit will not be straight into their faces as much as it would have been earlier, because if they had not qualified this season, it would have been the first time in their IPL history that they would have not qualified for 3 seasons in a row. So there's that. But his lack of performance is now becoming concerning. I hope that it doesn't translate to I hope it doesn't translate to his form for India in ODIs also.
especially with the WTC file coming, it's even more. Somewhere down the line, let's be real. As much as Rohit Sharma ekdam bindas hai, bhai, at the same time, as in form is a thing, and with Rohit Sharma as well, you don't see so much. But of course, it's a one-off, and that timing is important at the end of the day. But moving on to the other finalists, obviously, is GT and CSK. Now, CSK obviously, in their 10th final. Again, मतलब मैं तो अपने prediction में बोला नहीं था कि CSK will be in the top four, but I said that if they are in the top four, they are going to win the tournament, is what I'm assuming, considering MS and his captaincy in important situations. We all know that he's the legend that he is, right? लेकिन generally speaking, I think in CSK the top the pair, right, the Conway and Ruturaj Gaikwad are a pair. I think that has been the mainstay. So final में what do you think should be the main ploy of Gujarat? First of all, टॉस जीतने पर मतलब कंसिडरिंग किया द 3 playoff मैचेस में द टीम बैटिंग फर्स्ट हैज एक्चुअली वन बट एट द सेम टाइम गुजरात लास्ट ईयर इन द फाइनल दे चेज राजस्थान स्कोर राइट तो क्या होना चाहिए प्लॉय knowing that गुजरात की bowling strong है?
Uh, See, yesterday was more of a case Gujarat outbatting outbatting someone like a Mumbai Indians, and it's not easy. It's not possible. Maybe if they had gotten 210 runs, Suryakumar Yadav wouldn't have played that shot to get out, and they could have easily chased that total down. So that game wasn't done until Suryakumar Yadav was dismissed, and that is after you have scored 233 runs. So
Yeah.
I think in Ahmedabad you can prefer to bowl first, depending on what your strength is, what your weakness is. But what is going to be very important for Gujarat Titans is to use their matchups well. I mean,
Hmm.
if you were playing Josh Little yesterday, he had to bowl in the power play with that left arm swing angle and see if there is any swing available. If he plays in the final, then it's a good matchup against Ruturaj. They should look to exploit it. They should give him a chance to bowl because, and if you want to use him as a bowler who has to bowl in the middle overs, then I feel Alzari Joseph is a better bet on skill. But given he's
Okay.
hardly played and you dropped him after that game where Hetmeyer went after him and then he played in that Gujarat Titans game where Shubman got 94, then he only bowled 1 over and then you dropped him after that game in Wankhede. So I don't think he's going to come back. But yes, I think it's better to use Josh Little in the power play rather than having bowl in the middle overs. Hardik is someone who can bowl in the middle overs with more
Hmm.
protection. So that is something that they need to do, I feel. And yeah, then uh, also they should really explore the possibility of playing Alzari because someone like Dubey will struggle against the high pace that Alzari bowls at. Uh, Even the likes of Raidu would struggle. So it would be interesting how they go about it.
Interesting, interesting. लेकिन हाँ मतलब that's a good point because in the very first match of the season again, right? If I'm not wrong, Gujarat chased down Chennai score, right? Yeah,
Yes,
Gujarat chased
yes.
down Chennai score 180, I think the score was, and I think Gujarat chased down and I think by 5 wickets with Tewatia batting at the end. वही लेकिन वही है यहाँ पर you said about certain matchups as well in terms of say Josh Little bowling say starting and then Hardik coming in the middle overs. There's a very controversial aspect. I know Hardik, मतलब मैंने तो बोला है गुरकीरत, I don't know what you think about it, but मैंने तो बोला that it's probably time जो रोहित शर्मा की बात भी हमने किया था. It's probably time to give the white ball captaincy to Hardik, slowly but steadily for sure in the long run, which is already starting. But when it comes to certain aspects, like for example, Mohit Sharma, the form that he's in, there have been I think multiple matches where उसको खाली 2-3 ओवर मिले हैं bowling करने के लिए, whereas Hardik himself getting 3 to 4 overs comparatively. We have seen the same thing in Indian team in Umran Malik. We were trying to blood him in Hardik bowling. So that is actually an issue which needs to be communicated. Or do you think कि Hardik is actually trying to get back to the bowling form for India? Like what is happening because there is a certain doubt there in terms of some section of the fans, right? What is your opinion about his captaincy in general?
I don't think finals is a game to sort of try and get back to bowling rhythm. I
Exactly.
think, and I'd said this last season also, what I did not like about Hardik, the captain, is wanting to do everything by himself.
Mhm.
Bowl in the power play, bowl in the death, coming to bat at number three. I don't think he should be doing that. And right now, more than his bowling, I'm concerned with his hitting. I
Exactly.
don't think
Yeah.
he should have come to bat at number four yesterday. It should have been Miller, Tewatia, or Rashid. He was able to hit those last two balls for boundary, and that sort of salvaged his innings because otherwise he was what he was 18 of 11,
Correct. He was
and he
actually.
had not really middled a lot of deliveries. So uh, I think he needs to work on his batting far more than his bowling because he's going to be fifth or the sixth bowler in most bowling attacks, right?
Hmm.
As a fifth or a sixth bowler in most bowling attacks, if your top four are doing well, you will be able to ask to only do a containing job or to fill out the overs, right? And if in those you can be accurate enough, you are doing your job more, on most days than not. So that is something that he needs to understand. And the other is use your players well. There have been instances where I felt he should, like, Gujarat really needed to break that sameness of that batting order because Rahul Tewatia was also not facing a lot of deliveries. So maybe they could have promoted him or they could have promoted Miller. They did not do that. So I think Hardik at three, and Hardik trying to bowl himself in the power play ahead of Shami, ahead of Josh Little does not make sense to me, because in the last IPL he did. This time he still toned it down. Like, he did not bowl for 5 games or 4 games in between. So yesterday also, if he wanted to bowl, should have bowled in the middle overs and not in the power play.
नहीं मतलब आई टोटली गेट योर पॉइंट और मैं बोल रहा था कहीं ना कहीं जो फाइनली विजय शंकर इज लुकिंग लाइक यू नो व्हाट द विजय शंकर वी वर एक्सपेक्टिंग राइट मतलब अ कपल ऑफ इयर्स बिफोर इफ यू रिमेंबर ऑब्वियसली फॉर ऑब्वियस रीजंस लेकिन अगेन इवन मिलर तेवतिया मतलब दैट्स हिज रोल पर से राइट एंड नॉट गिविंग दैट इज क्वेश्चनेबल लेकिन मेरा थोड़ा फंडा है यहाँ पर गुरकीरत आई डोंट नो इफ यू एग्री आई नो दैट बॉलिंग में यू सेड अबाउट यू नो गेटिंग इन द रिदम डजंट मेक सेंस बट the fact that he's not got runs and they were about 190 for 2 at that point. I know Sai Sudarshan got retired out later on, obviously, because he wasn't able to hit as well at that point. But 192 for 2 with 4 overs still remaining. So maybe Hardik was thinking कि यार final के पहले it's important for me to get a good hit and he was confident knowing Hardik that चलो भाई 230 तो हम मारेंगे. तो you think that that might have been a possibility just to kind of put it from Hardik's perspective, if at all?
See, again, being confident is very subjective. Sometimes there's a very
Exactly.
thin line between being confident and being overconfident, and
Yes.
unfortunately, you get to know the consequences, or the that fine line on which side you lie on after what has happened. It's very, in most cases, it's very difficult to sort of make that difference. Someone like MS Dhoni, with his batting, has been able to do it quite well. uh,
Hmm.
People keep asking him to come and bat ahead of others, but he's not, because he understands and realizes that he can also get stuck somewhere. And with his batting now, with his skills on a decline now, the chances of that happening are greater. So similarly, and Hardik's issues versus hitting pace or hitting big are not recent by any stretch of imagination. It has been happening now since the beginning of 2021. So he needs to work on that. It's something that I've been stressing upon and talking about for a decent amount of time now.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बाय द वे यस आशीष मैं आपका कमेंट देखो बाय द वे बिग अप टू एवरीवन इन द चैट अगेन आई रिक्वेस्ट एवरीवन गिव अ क्विक फॉलो टू गुरकीरत इन केस आपको पता नहीं सम फैंटास्टिक एनालिसिस ही डज एब्सोल्युटली यू कैन चेक इट आउट फॉर योरसेल्फ अगेन अ लॉट ऑफ फॉलोइंग ऑन ट्विटर एज वेल एज इंस्टाग्राम फॉर अ रीजन एज चेक आउट आवर ऑलमाइटी ब्लूज चैनल एज वेल वो वहां पर हम ज्यादा फुटबॉल कंटेंट करते हैं लेकिन देयर इज अ लॉट टू बी टॉकिंग ऑन दिस स्ट्रीम एज वेल एज अ लॉट ऑन द चैनल होपफुली यू ऑल आर सब्सक्राइब्ड एंड लाइक द स्ट्रीम मोहित शर्मा सर देखो आप सर ट्रेजेक्टरी ऑफ लाइफ कहाँ पंजाब में स्ट्रगल और अब ये दैट्स द ग्रेटेस्ट आई थिंक कहीं ना कहीं मतलब डेफिनेटली एक होता है कि यार ही समवन हु ऑब्वियसली हैज दैट एक पर्सनल एक सेल्फ प्राइड एंड द वे दैट इज कम बैक इज कमेंडेबल बट एट द सेम टाइम द फैक्ट दैट इज प्रीवियसली प्लेड अंडर धोनी मतलब आप देखो बहुत लोग जो धोनी के अंदर खेले फॉर अ गुड वाइल हैव दिस बिलीव समवेयर ऑन द लाइन ना मतलब आप देखो शिवम दुबे फॉर इंस्टेंस द वे दैट इज कम अप अजिंक्य रहाणे द वे दैट इज कम बैक talking about CSK generally, you think, मतलब ये सब cricketers obviously they need to get credit, but मतलब how big is Dhoni you think, or the entire CSK franchise as a whole? What's the difference that they do compared to other franchises? You think?
See, very difficult to talk about it from a distance, because you don't know what
Of
is
course.
happening inside. मतलब एक तो चीज है कि you can pander to the galleries and repeat the stuff that has already been said, but I don't think that's an honest point of view, because that's not that's one, personally, not my first hand experience, and two, there's nothing to back it up. So I refrain from talking about that. But yes, one thing that you can see on paper, on all field performance, and there's a definite sort of evidence for that, is that yes, there's a lot of role clarity. uh,
Yeah.
they commit far fewer basic mistakes than what other franchisees do. For example, we saw what Punjab did. Shikhar's captaincy was so disappointing that I think he had a he had a negative contribution through his captaincy in terms of results in at least 2 games. So there was that. Delhi have been tactically poor and not learnt anything from their mistakes over the last 3-4 seasons now. With Chennai, you don't see that. Chennai used to be a batting lineup that didn't really used to be very aggressive, but that 2020 IPL happened and they changed it. They started to change the way that they wanted to bat. 2020 IPL also, they had a deep batting lineup, but so many games that they lost, they were only 5 down, 6 down, right, while chasing. And it was
Right.
just down to their batters not having decent enough intent. So they changed that. They made a few changes. They asked their batters to be more aggressive, and that's something what paid rewards in 2021. And then we can see the rewards of that in this season as well. I believe they have the highest. I mean, they may not have the highest strike rate because Mumbai got ahead of it, I think, in the second half, but they have the highest average. Halfway through the season, they had the highest average as well as the highest strike rate. So they do a lot of basics right than what the other teams do not. And then I believe there's a there's a definite case of backing players and telling them that they will play a certain amount of games for sure, regardless of how they perform. Uh, you look at team like Delhi, or you will look at a team like Lucknow. They've played 23 players in the entire season, and so many players have just played what, one or two, or at max 3 games. Now that's not enough. That's not going to
Yeah.
exude any kind of confidence. So these things you will rarely see happen with Chennai, and I do believe somewhere these things affect the performance in a positive manner. And yeah, that's all what I can mention, because there is definite proof of this. It's something that I can say is happening. Everything else that happens inside the dressing rooms or in their hotels is something, it won't be an honest assessment from
Oh
my
yeah,
end.
obviously. Like from a cricketing perspective, what we're able to see is what we're able to judge at this point in time, right? But because of the fact that you have seen this time and again, it's like not a coincidence that Dhoni himself being in the 11th final and Chennai as a franchise being in the 10th final. Obviously, there are a lot of things that they're doing right. Obviously, somewhere down the line, me as an RCB fan, I know for people out there, by Gurkeet and me both follow a lot of cricket. We do comment, give our views end to end, be it international cricket as well, but at the end of the day, there is obviously, somewhere down the line, Gurpreet is also a DC fan and I'm an RCP fan. So you kind of see, okay, what's the difference? Some things are quite clear, right? But वहीं पर मेरा क्वेश्चन आया था because शिवम दुबे अगेन मैंने एक नाम लिया शिवम दुबे फॉर एग्जांपल आई हैव हैड दिस क्वेश्चन गोइंग टू वेरियस पैनल इन माय चैनल दिस स्ट्रीम दिस पर्टिकुलर सीजन दैट राइट नाउ व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट इंडिया थोड़ा सा मतलब इंडिया फैक्टर अब ले लो तो वी ऑल नो दैट नंबर 4-5 वाला बैट्समैन एक कंसिडरिंग कि श्रेयस अय्यर का फिटनेस इज क्वेश्चनेबल ऋषभ पंत ऑब्वियसली इज मिसिंग we have I know IPL is not the only kind of benchmark but still the way Shivam Dube is hitting he kind of looks the deal that we were looking for. Rinku Singh almost winning like multiple matches for you. Then you have obviously Tilak Verma doing Tilak Verma things. Even yesterday almost मैं तो बोलता हूँ वो एक momentum वापस से ला दिया मुंबई को. That kind of started things. So with this and of course Rahul Tewatia doing his things that he's been doing for a few seasons now to some extent. So who do you see as the best fit for the Indian team and whom would he or he replace as such?
uh, I think uh, as of now, Tilak Verma is a better fit. Uh, what I've liked about Shivam Dubey is that he's rarely taken up his hitting uh, a notch, like especially his hitting against spin. When he was with Bangalore and when he was with Rajasthan, I don't think he was the same player. He's definitely improved. There are going to be some calls of drafting him back into the Indian team, but I think that need to wait. It happened because he used to bowl, but he's not bowled at all, and he's not a great fielder, which is why he keeps getting subbed out. So there's that.
Thank you for backing me. Other day I said he's not a great fielder. Chat मतलब चढ़ पड़ी मेरे पे. I'm
No,
like
he's not.
seriously, bro.
See, simple. There's a simple reason. Even when, uh, yeah, even the options. Earlier they had Ambati Raidu as a sub, and now you've had Shivam Dube as a sub. So if Ambati Raidu is being preferred over you, uh, and uh, CSK have 3 or 4 poor fielders. Tikshana is not the greatest, but
Actually,
Shivam Dube doesn't even move a lot, and I think it was one of the players also saying that he seems very lost on the field. It was someone who had said so. He's not a great fielder. So and I still think that hitting sixes in IPL is one thing against spinners, but international attacks are far deeper. They will, they will make you earn your runs a lot more than what you would have to do in the IPL. I think his game against pace needs to improve. And yes, there are people who will talk about his lack of footwork, but I think if he can, get some success without the lack of footwork and keep doing what is in his control correctly, he'll still be decent. Because I think changing technique right now is going to take a lot of time.
Oh
If it
yes.
was easy, he would have done it. But yes, for me, as of now, someone like Tilak Verma is ahead in the pecking order. Rinku Singh, who has a great list A record, he's also done well. He needs to be in consideration. Uh, and for what I'd like from Shivam Dubey is to show the kind of improvement that Nitish Rana has shown against pace this season. Because Nitish
Mm.
Rana was also very circumspect against pace, and it's not just speed, but he was also circumspect against movement. But this IPL, he's gotten into good positions. He's been able to premeditate and guess what the bowlers are going to try and do, and then he's been able to get into those positions well enough. With Shivam, it's not happened. Uh, I think teams next season will come better prepared for him. This season, you just felt that teams also did not do their homework correctly on him, because he was fed into those balls in his half, sometimes in the slot, and he's very good when it comes to hitting any kind of junk bowling. As one thing where he can really cause you headache as an opposition captain is that you have to get your best bowler back. Because if you try and slip in an over out against someone like Shivam Dubey, it could become a 20 run over very easily. Because one, he's
Yeah.
also very powerful, so he has that raw power to clear boundaries. So you need someone who can, bowl those hard lengths or bowl it away from his arc. I'd still want to see him open up the offside a lot more. What
Correct.
he's been able to do well is, when bowlers are coming over the wicket and they're trying to target the area outside off stump, he's been able to move across the stumps, or anticipate that. It happened in that game versus Bangalore, where Harshal was coming over the wicket trying to bowl across, but he was just ready for that ball which is going to come on the fourth fifth stump, and then able to hit it across the line to the mid wicket or the cover.
That's basically both being predictable, to be honest. I've always said
Yeah,
Harshal Patel. That's
yeah,
a criticism of him.
that's what I'm
At the
saying.
same time, Dubey is utilizing his strength, which is actually
So
his weakness as well.
that kind of predictability will not be always available at the international level. You need to have a
Correct.
lot more options. So the lack of the kind of options you have as a batter plays a huge part in how quickly or how easily you can graduate from having success at the domestic level and having success at the international level. That plays a huge part, because international bowling attacks are able to figure out these things much quickly and much better than what IPL teams can do. And the bowling attacks are also deeper if you look at it.
Yeah, for sure. Again, as an RCB fan, having seen him, also hit for RR as well as now CSK, I can see a progression in terms of basically him improving. But you're right, as in somewhere down the
Yes,
line,
he's
maybe
improving. He's improving in terms of understanding and premeditating where the ball is going to come.
right.
But I don't think he's improved in terms of opening up a lot of shot making options.
Correct.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
because of
really
his
stick.
experience that he's kind of using that
Yeah,
particular
he, he,
experience of
he
his and
he
using
still
it to
doesn't
advantage.
go over covers. He does not still go over point. He does not,
Correct.
target the area behind square on the offside. More or less is mostly on the leg side, right? And if you have smarter bowlers, if you have someone like Ravichandran Ashwin, who,
Hmm.
if you look at it, how he set him up in that game in Chepauk, it was a very good setup. And even when he had hit Ravichandran Ashwin for those two sixes in Jaipur, he was still able to end the over uh, without conceding more than what 15 runs. So that is something that will happen more at international level.
Yes, absolutely. भाई यहाँ पर बड़ा shouted है obviously for my panel again गुरकीरत again by chance आपको गुरकीरत यार आपको you don't know what kind of analysis he does, just check out his Instagram and Twitter links, it's below in the description पहले line में. You will have some fantastic content already. आप लोग बहुत ही enjoy कर रहे हैं, I'm pretty sure on that. If you are let's hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel. But welcome to Adarsh as well as Sport Freak. Obviously, shout out here who are part of the members. Absolutely. So yes, we have started membership newly on the channel, so people do check out the perks. Great to have Adarsh on this as well as on Almighty Blues as well as Sport Freak and Darren as well. तो भाई यहाँ पर शिवम दुबे की बात होगी, बट वहीं पर एक और यंगस्टर बट अ बॉलर इन दैट केस। आई थिंक कहीं ना कहीं गुरकीरत ने बोला भी था दैट the backing that you see from CSK and maybe from Dhoni is kind of clear over the years. I think one example is Patirana. I think if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong in a chat or Gurkirat, Patirana the last time. Like, I don't think he was played as much, right? Last season for CSK. And pretty sure he wasn't played and he was like, nahi, nahi, he's one for the future and now he's looking like
I
it.
think he came as a replacement player in
Replacement.
2021. He was there as a net bowler for them.
Okay, okay. So Patirana ka again, Dhoni has said certain things about him, managing his career generally for Sri Lankan cricket. As in, this is a guy who's literally like hum baby Malinga sochte the, but what is the kind of difference in terms of his trajectory? I think ek to he bowls from lower down, kind of in the height, right? So how will GT kind of face him? Do you think there will be a plan against him? Maybe get say a Tewatia or someone like that who's like himself मतलब अलग ही है उनका उसका टेक्निक, राइट? सो मे बी समथिंग लाइक दैट, यू थिंक पतिराना के लिए?
Uh, See, I'd like to see how he does when teams have adjusted to his bowling action.
ऑफ कोर्स.
One thing why Malinga was able to sustain his career for a long period of time was, uh, despite teams figuring out his action, he had a lot more options. He had a very good bouncer. He had a good Yorker, and he also had a good slower ball which could dip. So he was in T20s. If you are a one trick pony, it will not work beyond one season or more than that. Even if you have a very good Yorker, because
यस.
Yorker is also a very very high risk, very high risk ball. Yorker, the day you are landing it, uh, you tend to land it so well that all of them can land and you could get away. And the day you're not able to land it, uh, then it has a very cascading effect. It's one delivery which has a very cascading effect in terms of your confidence. You start landing one two, then you start landing all of them. You don't land one, and then you try and land the other one. You either miss your mark or it becomes a full toss. So, or it can even turn out to be sometimes a waist high full toss. So your if your only option is Yorker, you could go for runs. So you need to have a Yorker, a bouncer. This season, Ashdeep tried to bowl the bouncer in between on a few occasions, and the days he bowled that bouncer was when he had better days at the death than just relying on the Yorker. So, as a death bowler or as a T20 bowler, if you have only one option, it won't work. It will work for a
या.
short time. It might help you in a season or maybe two, but after the same thing has happened with Harshal Patel, right? That it's
एब्सोल्युटली,
difficult.
पीपल हैव फिगर्ड इट आउट बेसिकally, क्योंकि उसके
See,
पास.
it's difficult to land a Yorker. It's even
हम्म.
more tougher to land a Yorker which dips because it's a slower one, and so the margins are even more thin. And he stopped bowling the bouncer because one of the time one season why he was doing well was he was able to mix his bouncers well with the slower ones. But now he can't, and
नहीं,
the
नहीं.
boundary dimensions in Chinnaswamy also don't help. So not surprised with how he's gone this season.
That's an interesting point you say, because that reminds me obviously being at Ahmedabad again. मतलब एक तो last year भी final अहमदाबाद में था, Gujarat playing in Ahmedabad. People are saying as in maybe the format needs to be changed. Either the playoffs या तो change करो थोड़ा बहुत वापस से back to what we used to have, क्योंकि यार हर साल almost top two teams ही आ रही है. Second change is about the venues of the finals. मतलब what is your opinion on that as well?
Oh, see, the rule was, if I'm not wrong, that the teams that reach the final, they get to host it. And I think for the longest time it was like that, but there was slight change in 2016, and then 2017. The finals were in Hyderabad and Bangalore hosting the. I think, if I'm not wrong, yeah. For some reason, the first qualifier in 2017 was in Mumbai. I don't know why. But the eliminator and the qualifier two was in Bangalore, and the final was in Hyderabad in 2017. Then in 2018, it was again. finals in Mumbai, and finals in Mumbai and the qualifier one in Mumbai. But the two playoffs before that were in, uh, yeah, if I'm not wrong, where were they? I think they were in Kolkata. If I'm not wrong, yeah, I
Yeah,
think they
I
were
think
in
so.
Kolkata.
But basically speaking, is
Can
it
I
an
just
advantage? Like that's the
can I
whole
just
point.
take this call? Can I just take this call?
या प्लीज प्लीज भाई सब लोग जो भी यहाँ पर
Hello.
बैठे ना अगेन बिग अप टू
भैया
एवरीवन
चलो,
यार
ठीक है.
लेट्स एक्चुअली हिट दैट लाइक बटन एंड भाई सब लोग के क्वेश्चंस जो भी मैंने नहीं लिया है आई विल ट्राई एंड बेसिकली टेक इट नाउ एज वेल इफ टाइम परमिट फॉर श्योर लेकिन आई थिंक गुरकीरत इज बैक या प्लीज
Yeah. Uh, so I don't know. I mean, I am okay with the first and the second team getting an additional advantage to make it to the
ओके
playoffs. I am fine with that. Uh, but yeah, can and I'm also okay with the fact that how the teams finishing first and second are getting a chance. I don't know how Chennai got these playoffs. I genuinely don't know, because as per that, it should have been Jaipur hosting it. So
एग्जैक्टली
I don't know.
see that's the thing right because it's either not a hard and fast rule or basically as in there is a sense of
I
basically
think
if
it
there.
also comes down to, try and fill in, try and getting as much as possible these gate money through tickets. But there is not there's not a consistency in this, which should be the case.
No, I agree with that. But talking about Chennai, one quick aspect that I want to know, one player that I think again has not been as in needed much this season, I must say. Again, bowling में वो contribute करते हैं, obviously like considering that there are left-handers and obviously the GT lineup. Moeen Ali. Now, what do you see the role of Moeen Ali? In fact, generally मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ, uh, which are the players you think that franchises haven't used as much, which maybe your team DC and my team RCB can maybe hope for in the future as well as starting from a Moeen Ali again.
See, Moin Ali, he's just been poor. I don't think that he's not been given chances. He's been given decent amount of chances. It's just that he's been poor. Uh, Probably MS could have looked to give a chance to Santner, but the fact that Santner did not get a chance in the league stage, it was not going to happen in the playoffs. Uh, but yeah, what's your next question? Is which team could?
Yeah, as in generally franchises, we saw like for example Mumbai. A lot of Mumbai fans in the chat I know. Devon Brevis hai as BBAB. There's a lot of other franchises which also have, say for example Chennai, maybe Ben Stokes. Not just overseas, even just say Gujarat में हमने बात किया, Sai Kishore. These are people have not been utilized as much by the top franchises this season. So is there a scope of these players moving to other franchises where basically there are holes, especially in DC and RCB, right?
So I don't think Santner or Sai Kishore will be let go from these teams, because they have a lot of quality and teams recognize that quality. So there's that. And the fact is that even if Delhi would have got them, Delhi's usage of their own players hasn't been great. So there's no guarantee that these players would have succeeded at other franchises. Some players are just unlucky to not get games, and it can happen.
Absolutely. Bhai, lekin I know Gurkirat, I think, is falling short of time. He needs to be elsewhere as well. So I'll have a couple more minutes of Gurkirat and Max. Gurkirat, I hope that's okay, brother.
Hmm.
तो बेसिकली स्पीकिंग मैचअप्स की बात कर लेते हैं मतलब व्हाट इज द मैचअप दैट यू लुकिंग फॉर मोस्ट टुमारो एक है ऑब्वियस वाले तो है ही खैर मतलब व्हाट डू यू थिंक विल बी द डिफरेंस मेकर व्हिच इज व्हाट फाइनल्स आर ऑल अबाउट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे राइट
Shami versus the openers, and Rutu versus uh, Rutu versus Rashid is going to be a good matchup. Uh, and when it comes to CSK bowling attack uh, and Gujarat's batting, they just hope that somehow they get Gill out, because once Gill gets out, then there are weaknesses to be exploited there, right? If you have Hardik in
एग्जैक्टली
early, and if you have Gill being dismissed, then you can choke them with spin, because Hardik's been struggling versus spin. Unless they promote someone like Sai Sudarshan. So if there is Sai Sudarshan, I'd expect him to take on the likes of Jadeja and Moin Ali, maybe even Tikshana. So I think Sai Sudarshan versus that spin trio
Got it.
Especially Ravindra
Makes
Jadeja
sense.
is going to be another important matchup.
A गुड वन एंड कुछ चेंजेस एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हो लाइक अभिनव मनोहर और मे बी यहाँ पर चेन्नई तो मतलब वी नो दैट ही डजंट मेक एनी चेंजेस फॉर इंपॉर्टेंट मैच बट इज देयर अ स्कोप ऑफ अभिनव मनोहर कमिंग इन कंसीडरिंग कि यार विजय शंकर के बैटिंग में मे बी वाजंट कॉन्फिडेंट दैट्स व्हाई हार्दिक केम इन हिमसेल्फ
No, I am not expecting any changes.
anyway good stuff and predictions what is your gut feel what's going to it looks like it's going to be a good final for sure a close final मिलना चाहिए लेकिन क्या लग रहा है
For me, Gujarat go in as favorites, but
वाओ तो good
I I just have a gut feel that someone like Moeen Ali could do what Shane Watson did in the 2018 final, because he's not
वाओ
turned up at all, barring that one game versus Lucknow and Chepauk. So maybe could be that.
इंटरेस्टिंग स्टफ भाई सब लोग इन द चैट आप लोग भी बोलिएगा क्या होने वाला है एंड यस बाय द वे वी आर गोइंग टू बी स्टार्टिंग लाइव टुमारो प्री मैच से तो भाई जुड़ना हमें डेफिनेटली वी आर गोइंग टू डू प्री मैच वी आर गोइंग टू डू अ फर्स्ट इनिंग वॉच अलोंग अगेन आप लोग की यू नो अगर सपोर्ट हो एट द सेम टाइम लेटर ऑन यू नो दैट ऑलमाइटी ब्लूज देयर इज अ फुटबॉल चैनल वी हैव वहां पर विल बी कवरिंग ऑब्वियसली लास्ट ईयर ऑफ द प्रीमियर लीग सीजन एज वेल बट ग्रेट टू हैव गुरकीरत अगेन भाई सब लोग यहाँ पर सब लोग लाइक बटन दबा दीजिए सबसे पहले लेकिन मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली give a follow to my panel Gurkirat some fantastic analysis he does love his content absolutely brother hopefully first of many been trying to get you for a long time I hope you like the show but anything that you're looking forward to Indian cricket from what is your take from the IPL parting comment de dijiye
I just hope that when the selectors start selecting teams for the next T20 series, uh, they are selecting people for the roles that they've been doing for their IPL teams, and not trying to, okay, you have scored this many runs, because you don't have a position in top three vacant for you. You bat at number seven, even though that player has scored runs at top three. So I just hope those players are selected as per their roles.
No, that makes sense absolutely and of course interesting रहेगा मतलब in the future whenever Afghanistan meets India that'll be an interesting thing what happens with the mangoes but again let's be real in terms of the drama there's been enough drama hopefully we get a good match as well but big up to everyone in the chat again big up to Gurkirat हम वापस से आएंगे कल live अभी के लिए इतना ही है आज के लिए लेकिन see you on the other side of Almighty Blues as well as here love you all bye